Hello, good afternoon everyone. Welcome to the webinar on SONIA 2. I am Professor Ranganath. I am the coordinator for the Developer Cure project. This is about SONIA 2 because we did a similar webinar for SONIA 1. Over the next several slides, I'm simply going to talk to you about what SONIA 2 is about and why we are doing this webinar. So, moving on to the second slide. So, this is part of the Developer Cure project, which is run by a consortium of 13 European organizations. It has been funded by the EC, so they have given us nearly 6 million euros to do this project. And there are 3 studies in this project. The first of which, SONIA 1, we did the webinar on that a few months ago, is now underway. We are nearly finished, but we've still got some way to go. And this SONIA 1 study is to determine the correct dose of nitisinone for people with AKU. This will be followed by a 4-year clinical trial called SONIA 2, and this is a longer study to show that nitisinone not only decreases homogentisic acid, but is also effective in changing the condition itself, and that it is also safe for use in people with AKU. I'm really not going to talk about SOFIA, which is a different study to find out the age at which AKU causes damage in people with AKU. So, moving straight on to the next slide, as I said, this project is about developing nitisinone for AKU. So let me introduce nitisinone to you. So nitisinone is a drug that we're using in SONIA 2, and this drug prevents the buildup of homogentisic acid. As you can see, there are a number of test tubes down in the picture below, and if you start from your left and move to the right, you will see that this single patient, where the urine was collected over several days and weeks, shows a complete clearing of the black urine when nitisinone was given. And this shows in a visual way that nitisinone completely stops the buildup of homogentisic acid in the body. And we are quite excited about this because we think by stopping the buildup of homogentisic acid, we should be able to firstly stop the progression of AKU or slow it down quite a lot. And this we expect will benefit people with AKU. However, we have to prove this. And to prove that, the reason we have to prove that is nitisinone at the moment is not licensed for the treatment of Alkaptonuria. However, it has been used even in babies quite safely for the treatment of a different condition called tyrosinemia type 1, HD1. The doses of nitisinone used in HD1 is about 20 to 50 times higher than what we are likely to use for people with AKU. However, anybody who is on nitisinone is likely to have high levels of tyrosine. And in most people, this high level of tyrosine is completely harmless, but in the occasional patient it can lead to problems with the eye. But the good news is that once the nitisinone is stopped, tyrosine levels come down and the eye problem completely disappears. So it is completely reversible. As I said already, it is not licensed, nitisinone is not licensed for AKU. So there's no previous successful clinical trial of nitisinone in AKU. Hence we are doing SONIA 2. So let's talk about the basics of SONIA 2. So we expect to start SONIA 2 sometime, sorry, something has disappeared. Okay, we expect to start SONIA 2 sometime around November or December 2013. And we will recruit for a period of 5 to 6 months. The centers, the clinical trial centers are in Liverpool in the UK, Piestany in Slovakia, Paris in France. This study in these 3 centers will run for 4 years and a bit more. Every person who takes part will have a 4-year journey during the clinical trial. Each person will therefore need to make 6 visits to each of the clinical trial centers over a period of 4 years. There will also be questionnaires in between visits and a follow-up call once the 4-year period of the clinical trial is finished, just to check that everything is all right when people participate in SONIA 2. moving on to the next one, there's a bit more information to give you about SONIA 2. SONIA 2 is the largest study of Alkaptonuria where nitisinone is being given. It is a rare condition, and recruiting 140 people with this condition is going to be quite challenging. So the expectation is to recruit 40 people in Liverpool, 33 in Paris, and 6 to 7 in Piestany. And we hope these numbers will not change too much since we expect all the clinical trials to be successful. So the people who are recruited, the 140 people, will be divided into two groups of 70 each. One group will receive nitisinone and the other group will not. So the obvious question some of you will be thinking is, why is there no treatment for all patients with AKU? The only way to prove that nitisinone decreases the complications of AKU is by comparing nitisinone in patients with AKU to other group where they do not receive nitisinone. This is the only way. The reason we are not using a placebo in Develop a Cure in the SONIA 2 project is because nitisinone changes the color of the urine, as I've already shown you in the test tube slide. And therefore, every person on nitisinone is going to know very quickly that they are actually on nitisinone, or maybe they're not receiving nitisinone, so therefore we are not using placebo. So comparing the two groups, the treated and the no treatment group, will allow us to apply for approval of nitisinone by the EMA, the European Medicines Agency, to allow them to use nitisinone in people with AKU if this trial is successful. If nitisinone is approved, it will be possible to obtain nitisinone locally in each of the member countries of the EC. So more information about why we're using a no treatment arm. If nitisinone, for whatever reason, if we do not have a control group, this trial cannot take place. And if nitisinone cannot be licensed for use in AKU, there is no guarantee AKU patients will get nitisinone off license because money is tight everywhere. Comparisons between the two groups will help us understand more about AKU and help us to treat people with AKU better. It will also help us to understand the safety issues in relation to nitisinone and manage nitisinone treatment properly. This is why we need a no treatment group. They're just as important as the treatment group. So let me give you a bit of information about the things we will do in the trial itself. So other than the treatment that we will give, the various assessments will be managed and followed up by experts in this area. Sorry, it's again gone. Yeah, come back. So by experts in AKU. Over the 4 years, we're going to be doing a lot of blood tests, urine tests. Sorry, it's again gone. So over the 4 years, we'll be doing a lot of blood tests, urine tests. Sorry, the slide is gone. We'll be doing a lot of blood tests, urine tests, clinical assessments, MRI scan, X-rays, ear biopsy, interviews and questionnaires. We will also be doing tests of the eye and general questioning to make sure that the safety of nitisinone is also addressed in this trial. Can you change that forward, please, to the next slide? Thanks. So if you look at the criteria for SONIA 2, people who took part in SONIA 1 can still take part in SONIA 2 as long as there is at least a 2 to 3 months gap between stopping nitisinone and starting in SONIA 2. You need to be over the age of 25 to take part. You will, like in SONIA 1, need a confirmed diagnosis of Alkaptonuria by means of a urine test. You must have symptoms of AKU, such as black spots in the eye or ears, or back pain or joint pain. We will ensure when you contact us that you do not have any other medical condition that may prevent you from taking part. Can I have the next slide, please? So let's think about the practicalities of what this will mean if you take part. So all international long-distance travel within Europe will be arranged and paid for by the trial itself. So there's or the train station will also be covered by the trial itself. When you're in Liverpool, or for example in the other clinical trial centers, all accommodation will be provided free of cost. All official documents will be translated into your own language. When you're in the clinical center, for example in Liverpool, even if you're not comfortable speaking English, there will be interpreters that will be provided wherever necessary. Can I have the next slide? So, if you're interested in taking part and would like to know more about the trials, please email our clinical trials coordinator, Hannah, at the AP Society. There's an email address there for you. You can also find out more information by visiting the RareConnect website, and that link to the website is also listed there. You will know that this webinar is freely available to you to come back to find these links after I've done the presentation today. Can I have the next slide, please? So, more in terms of what next? When the study is ready to begin, all people who have expressed an interest will receive detailed written information. So you will obviously have time to read the information, discuss it with your family or your local doctors, and ask us if you have any questions and we can clarify those for you. All this will happen before you even travel to the clinical trial centers. You will also receive a checklist which your local doctor will need to complete to confirm that you're able to take part. Because as you can imagine, since people from Europe will be coming to Liverpool, for example, we don't want people to make the journey unnecessarily if they are not suitable for the clinical trial. So these measures will make sure that people coming for the clinical trial centers can actually take part. Can I have the next slide, please? If you're still then willing to participate, and if you meet all the criteria, we will then begin talking to you about what dates you could come and help you to organize the travel to the test centers. As I've already said, everything is free for you and you do not have to pay your own money. Everything will be paid for. The other thing that's important to say and will be mentioned again when you come to the Clinical Science Center is that you'll be able to withdraw from the study at any time without giving a reason. Can I have the next slide, please? So this is the final slide, and if you got any questions, please ask now. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, thanks very much, Dr. Ranganath. I know we got a few questions by email already.
Yeah, I've seen a few questions on the screen. Can I address them?
Yeah, that would be great. So the first one is, what outcome parameters will be monitored to evaluate the effectiveness of nitisinone?
Okay, the main outcome is that we need to show that the homogentisic acid is down to very low levels after nitisinone. And this is why we are really excited about finding an effective treatment for people with AKU, because we are almost 99.9% sure that we can show this convincingly. So because we are confident we can show this, we just need a bit of participation from people with AKU to ensure that this trial is a success.
Okay.
We're doing lots of other things as well, like scans. We're doing blood tests, we're doing urine tests, we're doing questionnaires, we're doing lots of assessments. All of those are secondary outcomes. By that I mean, we only need to show that there is some change in these other parameters to convince the European Medical Agency to license nitisinone for AKU. So we do not necessarily need full statistical significance for these other parameters. We only need to show this for the urine homogentisic acid.
Okay, just want to remind everyone that if they have a question, they can attach their microphone, connect their microphone, and and chime in now, join the discussion. They can also type their question into the chat box, and then I'll read it out for them. So feel free to write questions now. I'm sure also Hannah from the AKU Society will be able to answer questions by email if they come up after the webinar, so please feel free. The second question we have received by email is, if nitisinone is approved in the UK or Europe as a result of this trial, will it be available to patients in other countries?
Each country will have its own regulatory mechanisms. What I mean by that is each country has to approve the use of nitisinone locally outside Europe. If it is approved, then it will be possible to obtain this drug through the local health mechanisms without too much difficulty. So I guess I'm really thinking about the States, United States, when I say whether it's applicable to the United States. The answer is no, because in the United States, the FDA there will have to approve this drug for the treatment of AKU before patients in the United States can actually get access to the drug. And if this trial is successful, however, people in UK and in Europe will be able to access nitisinone through their local healthcare systems. It should be much easier to fight for the drug because it is approved and there is an effective treatment.
And are you aware of any plans to investigate nitisinone in the United States? Is any similar trials to SONIA 2 perhaps be started?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So we are actually closely working with the NIH on this. So the National Institute of Health have got a keen interest in Alkaptonuria, and they want to do a similar trial in the United States. So we are working with them on that. We really want them to do what we are doing as much as possible, because one of the advantages then would be to merge the data from both the clinical trials together so that the data becomes stronger. And they seem quite happy to do that. But the challenge is we still need to engage with the FDA in the United States before they can get going. There are a few other challenges as well, which I won't go into now, but this is something we're definitely working on. We certainly want to make this work.
Great, thanks very much. Please feel free, other people, to ask your questions as well. I had another question, just personally, Dr. Ranganathan, and that was, why is the trial restricted to people who are having symptoms of AKU, such as the black in the eye or the ear or joint and back pain? Why can't other people who have AKU confirmed diagnosis take part in the trial?
Okay, that's a very good question, Robert. I'll tell you why. Because the EMA will not license nitisinone for AKU only on the basis of the urine homogentisic acid clearing up. They want a little bit extra support beyond that. They want us to show that there is some change, some benefit in terms of health, in terms of complications for people with AKU. This is why you need to have at least the ochronosis, the black spot in the eye and in the ear, or you need to have pain in the back or in one of the joints. And then that way we can then track any change after treatment if people have these features. That's the reason why.
Okay, thanks. I was wondering perhaps if you could comment a bit about the people who have already committed to enroll in the SONIA 2 trial. What kinds of countries are people coming from, or what's the profile, or I guess how's it going so far?
Yeah, so that is also a very good question. So we are recruiting from obviously the UK itself. We got patients in Northern Ireland, in Wales possibly, and in Ireland who are coming. Beyond that, we have patients lined up from Spain. We have patients from Belgium, from Netherlands, from Germany, and Spain. Sorry, Spain I've already said, and Italy as well. We're also looking to other sites if it becomes really difficult to recruit. So we are open about it. But because this is funded by the EC, we want to try and do this within Europe as much as possible. To do that, we need participation from people with AKU in Europe. So anybody listening, I would really urge them to consider participating so that this can be helpful for their own health. So obviously I'm talking only about Liverpool when you ask this question, Rob. For people in Slovakia, they have got more than 200 patients in Slovakia itself. So they should be able to find the 60+ patients for Slovakia. For Paris, they already have a list of more than 30 people that have expressed an interest in coming for this clinical trial in France. So things are okay for France, things are okay for Slovakia. For the UK, we are having to work harder because we're going outside the UK to bring patients in for SONIA 2.
Great. Hannah, Jenny, Oliver, some of the members of the AKU Society that I know are here. Do you have any questions for Dr. Ranganoth, or anything you want to highlight and jump in at this point and say? And I don't see anyone typing any questions either. I'll just pull up on the screen again Hannah's email address. It's right there, hannah@akuSociety.org. And encourage you to also visit the Develop Cure website that you see there to find out more about SONIA 2. So if we don't have any more questions, then that's all I have. Just wait a second here. No, I don't see any typing. Okay, so this webinar has been recorded and hopefully will work better this time than the first recording did. And we'll post it on the RareConnect community for Alkaptonuria. Jenny is just typing something now. And I'm sure we'll also be sharing the video with the AKU Society as well to share on their website. Sorry, that box kept popping open there. It's a bit sensitive. I should have made everyone's audio available.
Okay, Robert?
Yeah, it sounds good.
Okay, shall I, do you need anything else from me, Robert?
No, I don't think so. Thanks very much for...
thank you for making it work. So we have to be creative to make this work today.
Yeah, thanks very much for coming, Dr. Ranganoth, and for presenting the latest on SONIA 2. And I just want to say personally that I know you can always, reach Dr. Ranganoth and the AKU Society. They're very open to emails and very open to answering your questions. Dr. Ranganoth regularly helps us out on the RareConnect community for AKU to make sure that all the information there is shared. So yeah, just feel free to post questions on the community or email them in. And we really hope you learned more about SONIA 2 and will consider to participate in this really important research. So thanks very much, and have a good rest of your day, Dr. Ranganoth.
You too. Thank you very much, Robert. Bye.
Bye.